We, the laptop class, are facing our biggest ever crisis. Now, what do I mean by the laptop class? It's people like you and me whose work is mostly done on laptops. White collar professionals who don't produce anything directly. What we do is we plan, organize, supervise, we market, and we sell. We do that routine mental labor that till very recently used to be essential for running any business. But what has happened? Now that work is getting automated at an alarming pace. We, the laptop class, for decades been the backbone of India's middle class, the bulwark of the economy, driving much of India's consumer revolution. Today, our size is shrinking as white-collar job opportunities have stopped growing completely. And even where there are openings, the pay has become dismally low. And this is happening as we add millions of new graduates to the workforce every year, each wanting a respectable white-collar job. But all they're being offered as freshers is what a quick service delivery agent might earn in a month. Now, for many of you, what I'm saying is not something new. You have either personally experienced this white-collar slowdown that I'm talking about, or you know someone who has. Maybe you are a parent of a fresh graduate and you're seeing how they're struggling to get a good, well-paying job. But you know what? Our experience is often misleading. Our perceptions are often wrong. So there is no substitute for hard data to verify whether what we are personally feeling and seeing is part of a wider trend or it is just restricted to our own small circle. That is what I'm going to do in this video today. Show you the hard numbers that prove that we are in the midst of a white-collar crisis, a crisis that could mark the end of the laptop class. But before I proceed, a quick appeal. The job of a journalist is to speak the truth, even if it goes against our own beliefs and biases, even if, in fact, especially if it makes the powerful unhappy. It is our job to arm you with the information that can help you decide what the truth is. But such rigorous journalism requires a lot of effort and time, and therefore it needs your support. And you can do that by becoming a member of the Quint family. Just scan the QR code that you see on the screen and select one of the plans. And oh yes, do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon as well so that you are first to know when a new video drops. Think of the typical trajectory of a young middle-class person starting their journey into adulthood, into the world of responsibilities. Now we know today a graduate degree is an absolute minimum, a must for any middle-class youngster. Without that, they cannot even expect to get a job. Forget about a good job. Not just the middle class, by the way, even those who are aspiring to break into the middle class from below. They too know that they need to spend and send their kids to college for them to have a shot at a better life later on. So we keep adding millions of graduates to the workforce every year. This graph will show you how steep this growth is. According to CMI's estimates, a whopping 33 million graduates have got added to India's workforce in the past 3 years. 21 million of them in the past 12 months alone. Keep that number in mind. I will return to that later. Now, CMI's data also tells us that India has about 110 million salaried workers. Out of this, 18 to 19% are salaried professionals or our laptop class. That means there are only about 20 million people in India with professional white-collar jobs that command decent middle-class salaries. Now, out of the 21 million new graduates added to the workforce over the past year that I told you about, even if only 20% were to look for professional employment, we would need 4 million additional professional jobs this year alone to accommodate all of them. Remember, there are only 20 million professional salary jobs in India. So adding 4 million to that would require a 20% increase in such jobs. But what is the real situation on the ground? Now, Naukri's Jobs Peak Index, widely recognized as India's most robust indicator of new white-collar jobs, shows a 9% decline in new job openings in October 2025 compared to what it was last October. Now, hiring is usually seasonal. It rises ahead of the festival season and then falls immediately after that. So to get rid of this seasonal fluctuation, I'm going to take a 4-month moving average of Naukri's index. This means that at every point, I will compare 4-month periods against similar 4-month periods. That comparison shows that white-collar job openings improved by just 3% in the 4 months ending October 2025 compared to the same period last year. Remember, we needed at least a 20% rise, but we got only 3%. The global recruitment firm Indeed's data on formal white-collar jobs in India is actually much worse. Indeed says that formal job openings in October 2025 were down 20% compared to October last year. This is the 7th month running that Indeed's data shows a decline in formal job openings in India. But even if I were to only stick to Naukri's data, considering that to be more robust for India, the 3% job growth isn't great when we consider that 2023 and 2024 were actually terrible years for white-collar jobs. So the increase is more because of a low base effect. In fact, Naukri's index is currently 5% lower than where it was in February 2023. Remember, I've taken 4-month moving averages to smooth out the impact of seasonal spikes and falls. No wonder, therefore, that the number of unemployed graduates in India has shot up by more than 2 million in the past 1 year alone. And even those who are lucky enough to get jobs are being offered extremely low salaries. I personally know graduates in Delhi NCR being offered as little as 13,000 a month in the name of year-long paid internships, with the promise that if they perform well, they will be regularized at 18,000 a month. There is no way to lead a middle-class life in Delhi NCR on that kind of pay. Wider survey data confirms what I'm seeing at a personal level. Fresher salaries have remained stagnant for at least 3 years now, and in some cases it has not moved in over a decade. The worst hit sectors, ironically, are IT and finance, which are the most popular among students looking to graduate with professional degrees. IT, as is well accepted by now, is a declining sector when it comes to middle-class jobs in India. Entry-level salaries here have been stuck in the 20,000 to 30,000 per month range since 2015. Mid-rung salaries for people with 5 to 8 years of experience haven't budged either, especially after the mass layoffs of middle managers in India's biggest IT companies. No one would dare to ask for a raise in this kind of an insecure job environment. Salaries in banks and other financial institutions have also stagnated for the past couple of years. Most banks and financial employers now offer packages with a very low base pay and a high variable pay component. You get most of your salary at the end of the year, and that too depends on how your boss has rated your performance. This has resulted in a large number of financial sector employees feeling disgruntled by year end, and they end up switching to another employer. In many cases, they go without any significant increase in pay, by the way. They accept a similar total package as long as their fixed component is increased. This is why there is a continuous churn of employees in the banking and financial sector. In fact, one report says that the attrition rate is so high in this sector that each position has to be filled more than once every year. This would be very unlikely if employees were happy with their salaries, by the way, because studies show most people don't move unless they're offered significantly higher pay, a kind of offer that they can't refuse. I don't want to bore you with too many numbers here, so I'm going to show you a few graphs now based on the Naukri Jobs Peak Index. This will give you a visual sense of what has been happening in the white-collar job space in India over the past 3 years. So I repeat that I have taken 4-month moving averages of Naukri's index to remove any seasonal distortions in the data. The first is the overall white-collar job scene. As you can see, there was a dramatic fall across 2023, a mild recovery in 2024, and even now we are still below the early 2023 peak. In IT software and software services space, one of India's biggest white-collar employers, there has been a complete collapse in new job openings with no sign of any recovery. The situation was slightly better in the banking and financial services sector, but even that has crashed since the beginning of this fiscal. The education sector, which is seen as one bright spot in an otherwise gloomy job situation, has recovered from the lows it hit in the middle of 2024, but even now the job openings are more or less where they were in 2022. Finally, a small but telling indicator: job openings in employment services firms. Look at the complete collapse here. This last graph is like a snapshot of the entire trend actually. When there's high demand for white-collar professionals, recruitment firms do very well and they in turn hire more people. When there are no job openings, then the exact opposite happens. Demand for recruitment firms also falls. So they stop hiring. In fact, they are probably the first to understand the trend and also among the first to react to it. It is now increasingly becoming crystal clear. Routine white-collar jobs, the laptop class jobs are dying. What is increasing is high-skilled tech and strategy jobs. Quality and experience over quantity. Such jobs are few and far between, but they are fetching 3 to 4 times the median pay packages that a routine white-collar job offers. The biggest salaries are being offered to people with demonstrable skills in AI and machine learning. Along with that, senior managers who work in strategy and business development are also being hired at very high salaries as corporates try to move away from old business practices and pivot into the new AI age. There's a third trend that is beginning to emerge slowly: remote jobs in small towns. Many companies are finding that it is cheaper to hire a techie who works from home living in a tier 2 or tier 3 town than recruiting someone in a metro or a big city. So many IT graduates are now going back to their hometown and working from home while living with their parents in a tier 2 or tier 3 city. This has profound sociological and economic ramifications for small town India. It opens up the possibility of the emergence of a small town middle class with lower aspirations than their counterparts in India's metros. But that is another story for another video for another day. Before I go, a quick reminder: scan the QR code on the screen and become a member of the Quint family. It will help us bring you news and analysis that legacy media never talks about. Until next time, goodbye.